Previously on my channel, I began my trip to Europe watching planes from my hotel room in Atlanta, but the star of the show was the Air France A350-900 that took me across the pond to Paris. With a window seat and different camera angles on the screen in front of me, that's all I needed to be completely satisfied. Who cares about the fancy seat when the airline encourages you to experience the joy of flight? Well, I've made it to the Charles de Gaulle Airport, and I'm taking a break between flights in the Air France lounge. Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I am flying to Marseille from Paris, France. The Air France lounge was a pleasant space to spend 2 hours. It was a vast and comfortable atmosphere, and it provided me with morning nourishment for my upcoming flight. My flight today is going to be on an Airbus A320, and I am sitting in the economy section. With an urge to be near my Airbus, I made my way out of the lounge toward the gate, taking in the interesting architecture that the CDG airport has to offer. I have to say that this is a complex airport to navigate with lots of ups and downs and twists and turns to get to your gate. What an interesting terminal. I feel like I'm almost in a train station here in Paris. Very, very different than the USA. I took some time to do a little shopping before arriving at my departure gate for the flight to Provence. Then it was time to board Air France flight 7664 for the journey south. I like this kind of boarding. My window seat today is toward the front of the cabin on the left side of the A320. It's a comfortable cabin with air ducts, light controls, and a cup holder, just like I saw on the A350. All right, let's head on over to Marseille. As you can see, I am strategically seated on the left side of the plane. Why? Well, we'll be taking off to the west today, the same direction that we landed in earlier, and after takeoff, we'll fly straight out for a bit, then make a left turn to the south. Since the airport is northwest of central Paris, the city of Paris will be on the left side of the plane. I'm happy I'm in front of the wing for the great views. By the way, the first-class cabin consisted of rows 1 and 2, and it's simply economy seats with the middle seat left open. There's no in-flight entertainment screens on this aircraft, so the flight attendants conducted a manual safety demo as I read the safety card. While that was happening, we began pushing back onto the ramp. Once the tug brought us to a place where we could taxi under our own power, we began the long journey from the ramp to the de Gaulle taxiway system so that we can work our way to runway 26 right. This airport has 2 sets of parallel runways, making for a very efficient operation, but the airport covers a large area of real estate. The airport itself covers just under 13 square miles of land, and its footprint is in 3 administrative regions and 6 townships. At the time of filming this, the airport was 48 years old. Other airports, such as Orly, which is over 100 years old, were used before this one. Orly still maintains airline service today. Le Bourget is another airport in the area that was once used for airline traffic, but serves as a general aviation airport now. Being from New York, I like to refer to de Gaulle as JFK, Orly as LaGuardia, and Le Bourget as Teterboro to put things into perspective. In any case, today we're taking off on the southern complex of runways, and our gate is on the north side, so it's a long taxi to the runway. Before I knew it, we were cleared onto the runway by the local tower controller for takeoff. Runway 26 right is over 13,800 feet long, and today we're entering the runway at taxiway Tango 11, which is very close to the start of the runway. Our A320 has more than enough runway length available this morning. The runway is slightly wet due to some rain that had passed over the airport earlier. The runway parallels the shorter runway 26 left, which I landed on in my A350 over 2 hours ago. As in many airports, the outboard runway from the terminals is being used for arrivals, and the inboard runway is being used for departures. This is what the case was when we departed Atlanta, which has a very similar setup in terms of runways, as there are 2 sets of parallel runways on both sides of the terminal. However, Atlanta has an additional runway on its southernmost side. After all, it is the world's busiest airport. All aircraft that land on runway 26 left here in Paris have to cross the runway we're on right now in order to get to the terminal area. There are many common operational procedures that airports around the world have, and this is one of them. We are northwest of the city of Paris on our initial climb, talking to the local radar controllers as we work our way to cruising altitude. We're flying over the far reaches of Paris by maintaining runway heading toward the west. Marseille, our destination, is to the south, and an eventual left-hand turn needs to be made to proceed on course. I am eagerly awaiting the sight of Paris, but as an aviation enthusiast, there's something else on this flight path to look forward to. Remember I had mentioned that Le Bourget is the general aviation airport for Paris? Well, this route allows me to catch a nice glimpse of it. Just 6 miles away from Paris, Le Bourget has 3 runways, with the longest of the 3 having length of just over 9,800 feet. This airport dates back to 1912 and is older than Orly. It's best known for hosting the Paris Air Show and where Charles Lindbergh landed after his Atlantic crossing. There's so much history at this airport, but we're passing by it very quickly. As we get further away from de Gaulle, we can begin to see some more buildings. We're getting closer to the heart of Paris, and I'm so happy I chose a seat on the left side of this A320. Like much of its course, the Seine meanders through Paris and is clearly visible from up here. We are now flying over a dense urban area. I am so happy that this climb out takes you right over the city rather than go around it. There's something special about aviation and cities combined. My eyes are glued to the ground for landmarks. As I panned the camera around, I was able to find one of the icons of Paris, the Arc de Triomphe. That was followed by the most famous icon, the Eiffel Tower. Paris has over 2 million residents, but the entire urban area has over 13 million, and while the city covers around 40 square miles, the metropolitan area covers over 7,000 square miles. This is why the city has more than one airport. As we start a left turn towards our destination, I had a nice view of Orly Airport. Orly has 3 runways, with the longest at just under 12,000 feet. Here's our left turn southbound. Meanwhile, in the cabin, flight attendants are getting ready for cabin service for our short flight today. It was a morning flight, and the light economy offerings were appropriate for the time of day. There was a cloud cover for most of the flight, but I did get to see some of the mountains separating France from Italy from the left side, and before I knew it, it was time for the descent to Marseille. Today, we'll be landing on runway 31 right, which is to the northwest, so we're setting up for a right downwind. After the right downwind, we'll be making a sweeping right turn back around to land to the northwest. Once below the cloud deck, I had my first glimpses of southern France. This is Charleroi, which is in the Bouches-du-Rhône department. The town is known for its straight streets, which is uncommon in the area. We've officially entered the department that our destination Marseille is in. While on the downwind leg about 20 miles north of Marseille, we see Aix-en-Provence, a city of 145,000. Just off our right side is the airport itself, but my seat doesn't allow for that view today. Today we're going to be turning a tight right turn towards the runway. Traffic is light, and we're able to land quickly today. I hope you're enjoying this video. Please take a moment to consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to hit that little bell button so that you're made aware of every time I post a new video for you. We're low to the terrain below, and the scenery is spectacular. It's a gorgeous day here in the south of France. When we turn a right base leg, it's always nice to be on the right side of the plane to see the runway ahead, but I'll take what I have. I'm just happy to be on this A320. Sitting on the left side of the plane affords a view of Marseille itself. If we were to have continued our downwind leg further, we'd have a better view of the central area of Marseille, but we can see the city and its port from a distance as we turn before reaching the Mediterranean Sea. The Marseille airport is only a few miles away from us. The airport has 2 parallel runways, runway 31 left and runway 31 right, and we'll be landing on the right side, the longer side. If you watch my channel, you know that I'm a big fan of LaGuardia Airport. Why do I mention it now? Well, runway 31 right extends out into a lagoon called the Étang de Berre. This is very similar to runway 422 at LaGuardia, which extends out into the East River. It also has a parallel taxiway and two turnoffs, one at the end and one just before the end, just like LaGuardia. If we were to land in the opposite direction on runway 13 left, we'd be making the entire final approach over water and would touch down on the extension. I was kind of hoping to land on runway 13 left to get that LaGuardia experience here in southern France, but today we'll be landing on runway 31 right, and I'm going to assimilate that to landing on runway 4 at LaGuardia. In case we land long, we'll need to go out into the extension into the lagoon. The 11,483-foot runway is directly in front of us. We're configured to land, and we're cleared to land from the airport control tower. Let's land at the 5th busiest airport in France. Our aircraft's captain is able to slow us down without having to extend out onto the runway extension, but as we turn right to clear the runway and get to the terminal, I'm able to catch a glimpse of the lagoon. We need to head in the opposite direction of landing to get to the terminal. It's sure nice to be here. The city of Marseille itself is not on this body of water, but rather on the Mediterranean Sea. We're 17 miles northwest of Marseille and in the community of Marignane, which is the largest suburb of Marseille. This airport is 100 years old. Since the airport is on the water, it actually had a terminal for flying boats, including the Pan Am Clipper. This airport really does have similarities with LaGuardia because LaGuardia is also on the water and its marine air terminal also operated for flying boats. Today, about 40 passenger and cargo airlines operate out of Marseille. It's a thrill to be able to see airlines from all over the world as my Air France A320 taxis in to terminate this flight. While this flight may be coming to an end, my trip to Europe is just beginning. I'll be headed to Marseille for one evening, and the next day I'll be boarding a cruise ship for a cruise in the Mediterranean Sea. While this channel has a heavy focus on detailed-oriented aviation videos, from time to time I like to take you with me to show you what I did after I landed, so stay tuned for an exciting few days at sea as I bring you along with me. You won't want to miss out on it, so hit the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss out. I'll see you all soon.